Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Today give it your full life to the Kirtan. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So one of the things that we do in the Kirtan is that we build the tempo, we will build the speed. So when the speed is built up, then your clapping should also go fast, right? So and when you clap, you should be clapping with the kartas. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Always try to hear the kartas, right? Follow it, and your clapping should be loud enough. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, is on a very happy and a joyous day that we have His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu and Vrksa Mataji, Her Grace Vrksa Mataji with us today at the Bhakti Vrksa, the home of Neeral Prabhu and Khyati Mataji, who is I think busy in the kitchen. So, so Maharaj, what we do is we have Kirtan till about 7:30 every day, every time.
Okay.
And then we read from the Bhakti Vrksa book. Today we will talk about the Opulences of Lord Krishna. And then we have, there's a section there on the holy name as well. So we take turns reading that, and we have discussions and questions on that.
Okay.
And then we have prasadam prayers and then prasadam. That's usually the typical that we do.
Okay.
And since we have you here today, and we still have 15 will be 1 minute, if you could do something.
Okay.
I think that is slow, Mataji.
This is 7
Time
minutes
is
slow.
That is slow?
7:24.
Exactly 7:24.
Okay, so then we can.
But-
Well, the whole evening is yours, so you can tailor it whichever way you want.
I'm just here to be with all of you in
Okay, perfect.
whatever way.
Whichever way you want. This is your opportunity. They are here, so you know. Then we can go here.
Does everyone know Jagrana Madhava? You mostly chant Hare Krishna.
We mostly chant Hare Krishna,
Okay.
but how many of you know Radha Madhava?
I think I know.
Let's stick to the Maha Mantra.
We will stick to it.
Shall I chant for a few minutes?
Yes, Maharaj, yes, it's entirely up to you. That will be good, yeah. That will be good. I will leave it with you.
These are the extra.
So Shraddha, what did you know?
Normally we introduce everybody, so they're new, yeah,
Please,
and
just
for those,
carry
yeah,
on.
we'll carry on with them. Okay, okay. So we'll start with introductions. So my name is Shraddha-devi Dasi, and I'm from Vrksa city. And behind behind the camera, he never comes in front of the camera, is my husband, Rakesh Prabhu. And on my left, on this fortunate day, is His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. He's the temple president for ISKCON of Silicon Valley, and he's my spiritual master as well. And you will take turns introducing yourself. Maybe we can start from there so that people are able to.
My name is Shraddha-devi Dasi. I've been associated with ISKCON since 1975.
Hi, my name is Raj Kohli from South San Francisco.
This is Her Grace Vrksa Mataji, Guru Mata's wife, and my Guru Ma.
Hare Krishna, my name is Suman. I'm from San Mateo, and I thank Neeral Prabhu and Khyati Mataji. As my husband said, they are angel devotees. So thank you for inviting us.
That is true.
My name is Veenu. I'm from South San Francisco. Hare Krishna. My name is Mansi. I'm from Pacifica.
Hare Krishna.
From where?
Pacifica.
Pacifica. Good to have Pacifica represented.
Hare Krishna. Myself Suyash. I'm from Pacifica as well.
So Yash and Mansi also post the Bhakti Vrksa in their home.
Oh,
They've done it a couple of
nice. In
times.
Pacifica.
Yes, in Pacifica.
Fantastic.
And Veenu and Raj, they are here courtesy Achyuta Prabhu because he gives lectures at the temple in San Jose.
Excellent.
There, and of course, Vishka Mataji, you know, so many people already know. We covered it.
Go ahead.
Mayank, yeah,
Oh,
Mayank.
Hare Krishna. I'm from San Mateo, and I'm very happy to be here and have association of all the devotees.
And welcome everybody who's on the internet watching us today. And Neeral, we didn't talk about you.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
This is the front row.
This is Neeraj here, and I'm so fortunate and happy that today Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma are here. And I don't know what to say. I'm so happy to have their presence and at our home. That's
Kathy, where are you hiding? Yes, come on up.
just making some silence.
This is the time to show up.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for coming and associating, giving us your association. So we really look forward for this moment. So thank you so much, and please forgive me for any offenses that I have done or in serving you. So thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for
Yeah,
coming.
we're really happy to be here. It's such an enlivening experience to see a center of Krishna consciousness, and driving up into Millbrae and finding that it's here is really special.
And we pray that we continue this way with your mercy and with your
Thank you so
blessings. So
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
thank you. And special thanks to Shraddha Mataji. And Rakesh Prabhu, of course.
Kirtan?
Yeah, we can each have something.
I think it was.
It's fine, we should start? Okay. Banwali Prabhu is coming.
Oh,
He's also regular, he comes to every.
that's right. Okay, great.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Please come. My special guest today.
Okay, Vanamali. Hare Krishna. Great to see you.
Good to see all of you. It was a long walk.
So we read a paragraph each, so we'll get started.
It's a
Is somebody coming in? I don't think so. Yeah. Just come and can check it. Yeah, I think we have all those who are SPP are in here. Yeah. Come, you can close it. So ma'am, should we get started with you? You can read.
Opulences of God. By definition, God is the supreme being. There is no one equal to or greater than God in any quality, attributes, or characteristics. For each of his qualities, God has a name. For example, the sun may be called as sun by an Englishman, as soul by a Spanish-speaking person, as Surya by a Sanskrit-speaking person. Yet when they speak these various names, they all refer to the same object, the sun.
Parasara Muni, a great sage and the father of Srila Vyasadeva, who compiled all the Vedic literatures, gave the following understanding of God. Aishvaryasya samagrasya viryasha yashaha shriya jnana vigrayos chaiva sanam bhaga itinganam. Parashara Muni defines Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as one who is full or complete in 6 opulences, who has full or complete strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. So continue.
Aishwarya, it's wealth. Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the proprietor of all riches. There are many rich men in the world, but no one can claim that he possesses all the wealth, nor can anyone claim that no one is richer than he. We understand from Srimad Bhagavatam that when Krishna was present on this earth, he had 16,108 wives, and each wife lived in a palace made of marbles and bedecked with jewels. The rooms were filled with furniture made of ivory and gold and Bhagavatam. In the history of human society, we cannot find anyone who had 16,000 wives or 16,000 palaces. Nor did Krishna go to one wife one day and another wife another day. No, he was personally present in every palace at the same time. This means that he expanded himself in 16,108 forms. This is impossible for an ordinary man, but it is not at all very difficult for Krishna. If God is unlimited, he can expand himself in unlimited forms. Otherwise, there is no meaning to the word unlimited. God is omnipotent. He can maintain not only 16,000 wives, but also 16 million and still encounter no difficulty. Otherwise, there is no meaning to the word omnipotent.
Okay. These are all attractive features we experience in this material world, that if a man is very rich, he is attractive. They are attractive even though they do not possess all the wealth of the world. How much more attractive then is God, who is the possessor of all riches?
Virya, strength. Similarly, Krishna has unlimited strength. His strength was present from the moment of his birth. It is not that he grew up and became God. Even when Krishna was a little baby, he killed the powerful demon Putana. At the age of 7, Krishna lifted the huge Govardhan hill to protect the Vrajvasis from thunderous rainstorms for 7 days and 7 nights. This is not a feat of mere human, but the Supreme Person himself.
Yasha, fame. Krishna has unlimited fame. We are devotees of Krishna and know him and glorify him, but apart from us, many millions in the world are aware of the fame of the Bhagavad Gita. In all countries, all over the world, the Bhagavad Gita is read by philosophers, psychologists, and religionists. The fame of the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's fame.
Shri, beauty. Beauty and other opulences possessed unlimitedly by Krishna. Krishna himself is very beautiful. The name Krishna means the all-attractive. This planet is an insignificant planet within the universe. Yet within this planet, one person has many attractive features. We can just imagine then how many attractive features must be possessed by Krishna, who is the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation. How beautiful must he be, he who has created all beauty.
Jnana, knowledge. We find Krishna's knowledge right and perfect. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But since 5,000 years, all great philosophers, great thinkers have been deeply delving into the Bhagavad Gita and have still not found the width and depth of this knowledge. No one statement of the Bhagavad Gita has been proven as false. There have been no amendments made, nothing has been added, or nothing has been deleted. Krishna did not do any prior preparation and then deliver it in front of Arjuna without any preparation. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and thousands of years later, all of us are taking shelter in this. This is just a tiny sample of his profound knowledge. No other knowledge has stood the test of time for such a long period of time.
Vairagya, renunciation. At the same time, Krishna possesses full renunciation. So many things are working under Krishna's direction in this material world, but actually Krishna is not present here. A big factory may continue to function, although the owner may not be present. Similarly, Krishna's potencies are working under the direction of his assistants, the demigods. Thus, Krishna is aloof from the material world. This is all described and revealed in the scriptures. One of the greatest testimonies of Krishna's renunciation is that he took the position of a charioteer of Arjuna.
Somebody may be very beautiful but not powerful. Somebody may be powerful but not wealthy. Somebody may be wealthy but not renounced. Somebody may be very much renounced but not very famous. But God, by definition, is He who possesses all of these six opulences to an unlimited degree, eternally, time after time. So anyone who possesses all these six opulences can be called as God, and he can be rightfully called as God.
God therefore has many names according to his activities, but because he possesses so many opulences, and because with these opulences he attracts everyone, he is called Krishna. The Vedic literature asserts that God has many names, but Krishna is the principal name. Srila Prabhupada says, any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be in the spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10, verse 41. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So we typically share our thoughts on what we have read, leaving it open to. So anything that struck your mind or any questions you have, and particularly because today we have this wonderful opportunity of having Vaisesika Prabhu with us, feel free to ask all the questions from here or any other general question that you have. Make the most of this opportunity. How many opulences are we talking about? 6. You wanted to say something?
Sure. I just wanted to share that this is a really very great definition of the word Bhagwan. I came across this when I read the first book of Prabhupada actually. He opens The King of Knowledge, is a small book, and the first few pages contain this definition. And that was actually the first time I always used to wonder what is really Bhagwan and who all can be considered Bhagwan. But this is, when I came across this, I realized that this is the most complete knowledge, definition of the word Bhagwan. So, because nobody else possesses these 6 opulences completely. And it's very easy to then nullify everybody else other than Krishna, and he stands alone as Bhagwan.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing. Anything else?
Something that caught my attention was amendments. There are no amendments. So everywhere we read, oh, in this amendment this was done, it's just like we keep finger on one bubble, the other bubble comes, but in Bhagavad Gita it's everything perfect, so something amazing.
Yeah, something I always think about is that especially about amendments in the medicinal world, I remember once my doctor said that you should take 400 milligrams of vitamin E every day, and otherwise you will die. She used those words, because of this. And I said, fine, I got some medicines and pills, and I started taking them. And then next year when I went again for my annual checkup, she said, 400 milligrams? You can't have 400 milligrams. They did the research, and you will die if you have 400 milligrams. So, it took just 1 year to have all the thing amended. Bhagavad Gita as it is, completely not amended at all. Yeah.
So I saw this line, and it makes a lot of sense. A big factory, which is Vairagya renunciation. A big factory may continue to function, although the owner may not be present. Similarly, Krishna's potencies are working under the direction of his assistants, the demigod. So there's truth to this, but also there's not truth because the owner is still present. Although the owner may not be present. owner is present because we have the deities, the altar in the temple, and we have Krishna present in our heart and in the association. So he's still here, 110%. Even though you don't see the Bhagavan form, but he's very much here, like he's still present, amongst us.
Came straight from the heart.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not a moment without the Lord, Everything is, He is everything, everything is existing in it.
Stay focused.
That section caught me also, and I was thinking, oh, well, he's aloof, so maybe he's not too concerned about that little blow up I just had. But then, it says, okay, well, he has his assistants and his demigods, that are trying to help me ameliorate my problem, eventually. So I'm not totally off.
Yeah, but also he left in the incarnation form in the way, through the 10th canto, but he's still present.
Right.
Because that's just the incarnation form, but the Lord lives in us and amongst us, and the deity is the Lord, right? The form of the deity. That's why when you visit the temple, you're in the presence of the Lord. There's all these regulations or rules around that when you're at the temple with the deity.
Well, it was just a funny little thought that I probably should have shared.
Yeah.
It just kind
Which
of
is,
caught me.
I think what I mean is not rules or regulations, but more like disciplines.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
What are the opulences? What are the 6 opulences? Louder. Yeah, Manasi, go ahead.
Okay. Aishwarya, Veera, Yasha, Shri, Jnana, Vairagya.
What is Yasha? So how is Krishna famous?
He's most famous.
Is it? Even after 5,000 years?
Oh yeah.
Right? We hear about movie stars and pop singers or even famous books. They come there and they sizzle after some time and they are gone. Like,
Look at the Rath Yatra. Without inviting the millions people come there.
Yeah. So many Rath Yatras around the
Around
globe.
the world.
And also, you don't get up and think of a movie star like when you wake up. But if you love Krishna, that's the first thought, right? So he is very famous.
I still remember when I went to the first time when I went to the Los Angeles Rath Yatra, I had no idea, I just thought that there will be, somehow he'll climb on the Rath and he'll be there. And I thought the Raths will start from in front of the temple, but they don't start from in front of the Rath starts from a different part of the city, a different city actually. And then, so they said, okay, the lordships are going out. So I also went out with everybody, and I saw like 3 big limousines had, turned up over there. And I was like, wow, even Krishna goes in limousine. Yeah. And then, of course, so I was like, and then that was not the end of it. And then see very smart, policemen were there in front, so they were driving the front, and then more of front were following the caravan. And I was like, oh my goodness, look at these policemen. They are so lucky to have this kind of a job. They are at the right place at the right time. They are escorting Krishna and guarding Krishna and taking him there. Yeah, so he is definitely famous.
He immediately attracts the person whenever we see him, anything, and then everybody is attracted right away.
To Krishna.
Yeah.
Especially
Whether they immediately go with him or they take time in between, because of our past karmas.
Yes.
So we don't go near, but we are attracted always, all the time.
And when
the
we do
clock 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And when we do Harinam at Palo Alto, we bring our beautiful deities of Gaur Nitai are there. And sometimes you see that people will be coming out, they are there in downtown Palo Alto just to enjoy. They have a ice cream in their hand and they're licking it, and they see the deities and they stop and they start going and they are still licking and they're looking and they will have crossed the deities but they're still turning back and looking. And that is Krishna. Exactly. They have no clue who's Krishna, but he attracts. Yeah. Yeah, he attracts them.
And I also believe, Mataji, when you notice about the limousine, that Srila Prabhupada directly spoke on this, that the Lordship goes in this sort of vehicle because it's the executive class, you know? It's a very important person, so he has to travel in that, not a regular car. He made that point. Actually, I've read it somewhere in one of the books, yeah.
What else did you find good about this?
I like the point that if you have some opulence, you don't have another. So you can never be like a complete or like a Krishna.
Very good, very good.
I like that not one statement of the Bhagavad Gita has been proven as false.
Wow.
Yeah, that it
What
still
about
applies.
this-
5,000 years later, it still applies.
Yeah, what about his strength? What about some examples of his strength?
Strength of the Lord.
Yeah. Like pastimes, like
Killing those demons in Vrindavan.
How often?
Almost
often
daily.
Daily, almost daily. Yeah.
Just being omnipotent is also a big strength, right?
So at what age did he lift the Govardhan?
7.
At the age of 7? Is that right?
Yes.
And how long did he lift it?
He's still,
7 days and 7 nights.
he's still here.
He's there? Yeah. So Maharaj, we have these nice 6 opulences of Krishna, and if you would like to share your thoughts.
Tasmai Shri Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Vaisesika Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna. Well, first I really like this group. It's a very powerful method of staying close to Krishna, being with those who are deeply devoted and just having discussions about Krishna. In the Gita, Krishna says, Machita Makta Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Kathayanta Shamanditam Tushanti Charamanti Cha. And that's in the 10th chapter of the Gita, where in the 4 verses that are called the 4 nutshell verses of the Gita, and he says that my devotees always discuss about my glories, my activities, and they get tushanti and ramanti. They get satisfaction and they get pleasure from discussing. So I'm relishing the way that all of you are discussing systematically and sharing all these things, and I can see that you're enjoying the tushanti and the ramanti is there, so it's really nice. And Prabhu, I forgot your name, please.
Prem.
Prem, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Yeah, this, as you were mentioning, this sort of mysterious opulence of Krishna, in the Sri Upanishad, there's a mention of how Krishna's far away, but he's very near as well. He's within everything, and yet he's outside of everything. And you find these kind of enigmatic statements, even in the Gita, in the 9th chapter, Krishna talks about his mystic opulence. He says, I'm everywhere, at the same time I'm not there.
Yeah.
And this is one of the opulences, that he can be everywhere at the same time, but also he says, my personality is separate. I'm also different at the same time. You mentioned all the various expansions that he makes, like in the deity form, and as Paramatma within the heart. And still he's separate at the same time, which was there apparent in the pastime with Narada when he was in Dwarka and he went to the various palaces. So Krishna has 16,108 palaces. So Prabhupada explains how sometimes yogis can expand themselves into 7 or 8 forms. But Krishna had expanded himself into 16,108, and when Narada went to each of the palaces, Krishna was doing something different. In one place he's playing with his children, another place he was setting up some strategy with Uddhava, talking about a battle coming up, and other places he was consorting with his queens. And so it's not like a yogi, it's like a carbon copy. But Krishna, his expansions are unlimited and each one of them can do something unique at the same time. And yet, the Brahma Samhita says, Departure eva hira shantarama vipetya, that there's one candle, it's the original candle, but it lights many other candles. They all have the same strength, but there's one original. That's an amazing, mind-boggling opulence of Krishna. And about the Bhagavad Gita, I was recalling a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching Sanatana Goswami about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. He quotes a verse in which it is said that just by speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Krishna saved the whole world. So his words are so potent, as you were all mentioning, recalling this section where nothing's been amended. So he spoke to one person, but the sound vibration is from Krishna so powerful that everyone in the world gets benefit. And actually, historically, it's true. We were talking to a scholar recently who preserves a lot of original manuscripts. Some of them are of the Bhagavad Gita. And one of the many scriptures are lost over time. They get destroyed, damaged. And also some are interpolated. Like there are ways in which some versions of Mahabharata, you'll find different versions. Because interpolation happens, someone will add a section here or there. But the Bhagavad Gita has never been interpolated because it's been watched over so carefully by the acharyas. They've seen it over many, many years and made sure that they comment on it. Every great acharya does, and they're watchful about it, that it doesn't get changed at all. So it's in pristine condition after so many years. And also in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that there's different opulences in the material world, which is actually really helpful because he says the ways in which we can think of him and be attracted even when we're moving around the material world. Like punyo gandha pratibyam cha, he says, I'm the original fragrance of the earth. And like after a first rain, that smell that comes up, it's so beautiful. And even the way in which plants, they'll extract that fragrance and they'll display it in a certain way. That's Krishna's opulence. Prabhupada on morning walks would often talk about his inconceivable potency and brought up on one of these talks about a lemon plant. And he said just from a little seed, you put it in the ground and it grows. And then you get so much ascorbic acid. And where does that come from? It's part of Krishna's opulence, inconceivable opulences that he has. And then, he pointed out there's cow. Cow just eats grass all day and gives milk. And so he said if you gave an endowment to some university and asked them to create a machine where they create grass, and you just flip the switch and then milk comes out, you wouldn't be able to do it. Because even in material nature, which is said to be the lower energy of the Lord, inferior or separated energy, Krishna calls it, even that's unlimited. In the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, which is a discussion by Shraddha-devi Goswami of the structures of the universe and all of its various aspects. In the beginning, he says to Parikshit Maharaj that I can only give you a little sample of what it's like, because it's so unlimited, I won't be able to describe it all. And as he goes on mentioning the material nature, he talks about various planets just in this material world, like in Jambu Dweep, which is one section of the material world. He says there are mangoes that are as big as elephants. And when they fall to the ground and they break, then the mango juice comes running out and it forms rivers. And the rivers come flowing down, and the rivers that mix with the earth that's there, it's a rarefied kind of earth, but that creates gems, and they're all manufactured along the stream bed. And on he describes the various ways in which just the material nature itself is unlimitedly variegated, and just the idea that within Krishna's creation there's no particle that's the same as another, there's no living entity that's the same as another. It's actually, there's no situation, like everything's unique. Every tree, every sunset, every situation that we're in is a unique thing, and it's always unfolding eternally as Krishna's energy is working. So he gives those ways to stay attractive by thinking of him. Like in the 10th chapter of the Gita, he tells all the glorious manifestations, and he'll say of mountains I'm Meru, of immovable things in the Himalaya, and so forth. And just in Hawaii, in the temple there many years ago, in the 1970s, devotees, Prabhupada told the devotees they could go to the beach and swim, but one of the devotees said that, but Prabhupada, it's so nice there, it seems like Maya. And Prabhupada said, how can you be in Maya? Because Krishna's the light of the sun. He says he's also the ocean. And how could you ever feel like separate? Of course, somebody might be able to do that. But that was the vision Krishna paints in the Bhagavad Gita is how you can think of him all the time.
So Maharaj, when people read about all these opulences, a person might have developed a desire to get some of these opulences through mystic powers. If you can shed some light on that.
Well, Krishna talks about mystic powers in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's kind of interesting technology. He mentions how yogis can focus their mind on one particular element within the material nature. And they become so absorbed in it that they start taking on its qualities. And then they can perform activities that are so-called mystical because of connecting with those material qualities. For instance, someone can become very light and not be subjected to the laws of gravity by focusing on the element of air. Of course, it's not a normal thing, and it's not that we see a lot of yogis doing this nowadays, but that is there. However, it's mentioned in that section, if you want to fulfill all desires, any desire that you have, then meditate on Krishna. And yogis are typically disparaged, or the practice of mystic yoga is particularly disparaged throughout the Bhagavatam because it becomes a great distraction. Anytime somebody starts getting a little bit of connection with the opulence of the material world, even in modern society, people get money and then they forget that actually I'm dependent on Krishna. That's why Queen Kunti says that it's easy to get intoxicated by wealth. She gives Janma, Aishvarya, Shuta, Shubir. So she said, you can think I'm of a high birth and I have a lot of wealth, opulence, beauty, fame, and all these things. Then she says, you become mada, or mad, like intoxicated, and then you forget God because of that. So she said it better to be in a state of realizing that I'm fully dependent. So yogis, they can, get involved with the material nature and then forget that they're not God. They might start thinking they are. Does it even Indra? When we were talking about this pastime, Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill, Krishna enacted that pastime because Indra became so proud, because he has a lot of power. And he became puffed up, and Krishna knew it, so he actually usurped the worship of Indra and changed it into the worship of Govardhan Hill. So Indra became so angry that he sent these clouds and storms to kill everybody in Vrindavan. And of course Krishna thwarted his attempt so easily just by holding the hill up. And he became humiliated, and then he came and surrendered to Krishna. But it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam that actually Krishna did that just to help him by relieving him of that false pride that he had through opulence.
Any of the thoughts, any of the questions that you have? We have Vaisesika Prabhu here with us. And Vrksa Mataji, if you want to ask any questions.
There's one from the internet, isn't it? This is from Rohit. Thank you for your blissful discourse. Just one question. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us the feeling of intense separation, or vipralamba. At the same time, Krishna in the Gita says, one who sees everything in me and me in everything actually sees. So if we actually see Krishna in everything and everywhere, how would we feel that intense separation from Krishna?
That's the mystery of Vipralamba. It's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, even when Krishna leaves from Vrindavan and the devotees are feeling separation, Krishna's more intensely present, which the Acharyas explain in his bhava form, in the form of the emotional form. And so it's a paradox that although the devotees are feeling separation from Krishna, it's a kind of intense connection with him at the same time, paradoxically.
It's also a source of bliss, like feeling
That's
of
right.
separation.
Yes. We read that this morning in the Bhagavatam, that this separation in the material world is some kind of misery. Although it appears to be the same thing in the spiritual sense, actually it's the greatest ecstasy.
I have one thought too. So yeah, as the Lord is present in everything and in every atom, and you feel the presence, but also you're separated from the Bhagavan form, the incarnation form. So that also can be a separation, feeling the separation. To see the Lord in that form again. Yeah, you see the deity, you associate with the devotees, you see your mother, your father, you see the presence of the Lord there in those relationships and in your worship and your altar, but then what about seeing him right in front of you in the form of Bhagavan?
Narada Muni, when he was a child, was benedicted because there were sages that came and stayed at his house.
Yeah.
His mother was taking care of him alone. She didn't have a husband. And he got spiritually enlivened by these sages, by hearing from them and also taking the remnants of their food. And then after they left, his mother died, so he was all alone at a young age. But he was fearless, and he went off and he was looking around Krishna's creation and just noticing how all the energies are working. And he had sat down in a lonely forest and he was meditating, and Krishna revealed himself to him in the most extraordinary way, so much so that he was swimming in an ocean of bliss. But then Krishna disappeared, and Narada tried to get back that same kind of connection mechanically, by using the techniques he had learned and so forth. But then Krishna spoke to him in an unembodied voice and said, actually, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
And that he called him a cool yogi. He said, you're not a good yogi, you're a bad yogi. Because you're attached to the forest and to the, and yeah, but he left it to him to live out his life and try to be connected. But, you know, it's a nice point that you make that we may see various features of Krishna, but there are, when Krishna decides to reveal himself in that way, he does so oftentimes just to entice the devotee to be more intense in the practice of devotional service. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a small question. So in here,
You can ask it loudly so that it gets.
yeah, okay. So in the last part, Srila Prabhupada says, any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be in spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence. So this seems to be a Ramban Upai or a best medicine for jealousy. Whenever I see like some opulence in something, I feel oh, why not me? So this verse comes to rescue. Okay, this is Krishna's, but what one should do to get that initial stage of why the jealousy should creep in at the first place, how to handle that, right? After a while, if I think, okay, I may get to this verse or what Prabhupada says, but there is a lag between that state and when it strikes to me. So what should I be doing to keep that aside?
Well, in the Ishopanishad, Prabhupada talks about the Ishavasya spirit. The first verse of the Ishopanishad after the invocation says, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yakincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magridha kasasutanam. Everything animate or inanimate within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. And if somebody has that vision that actually nothing belongs to me, I don't control anything, then they can just appreciate the fact that everything belongs to Krishna, and whatever I'm given is tena tyaktena, it's by his mercy, and they just accept that. And in the Gita, Krishna says, Yadrishya lava santushta. Learn to be satisfied with the things that come of their own accord. So if I understood you correctly, you're saying that there may be a way in which I become attached to the opulences of the world, think, why not me? Why don't I have these things? Right? Yeah. And in an interesting section of the Bhagavatam, the 7th canto, that talks about Hiranyakashipu, he was a quintessential materialist. That's what his name means, Hiranyakashipu. Like he wanted gold and soft bed. And so then he goes to all this trouble and performs austerities to get as much power as possible. He wants to control everything and everyone and not die. I mean, that's like the materialist dream. Let me be the controller in the center of everything. But then he couldn't handle it. And Prahlad Maharaj, after his father was killed, Prahlad Maharaj says to Lord Nrsimhadev, why would I ask for any material benediction? My father had everything, more than any other materialist had ever had. And just in a minute, he lost it all, because Lord Nrsimhadev just took it all back. So he said, well, I'm not interested. I don't want anything. I just want service. So, associating with Prahlad Maharaj in the Bhagavatam or other great saints, like you have Rishabhadeva and you have Jad Bharat, and all these devotees have exhibited the mood of a devotee that whatever I take, I'll just use it in Krishna's service, but I don't want any material benediction because I can't handle it. And that's something that comes up at the beginning of Hiranyakashipu's section, the admonition, don't try for things, don't ask for benedictions that you can't handle. And living entities can handle very little. We can handle service, we can take more and more service, but we can't handle enjoying material things independently of Krishna, because they're not ours. They're controlled and owned by Krishna, right?
Yeah, Prabhu, Maharaj, that's a great point. We cannot handle enjoying the material things on our own, like independently, because we get immersed in them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't you also be overwhelmed by service, too much service?
What's that? Can you get too much service? Well,
too much pressure, responsibility, and then
it's possible. It's possible that you can take on more than you can actually handle. So even in the realm of service, it's a good idea to do what you can do nicely. We have seen sometimes devotees take on more and more and more and more, and then the Peter principle can apply also there too. It gets too much.
Depends on the capacity of the devotee. How much he
Yeah, look at Prabhupada's capacity. I mean, it's actually mind-boggling. The acharyas, they seem to have an unlimited capacity, just like Prabhupada wrote thousands of letters. Back then, there were no texts, or you didn't just speak into the phone. You actually had to type everything out.
Yeah.
And often with carbon copy and things like that.
And review
actual
it.
Typewriter. And when Prabhupada typed, of course he had secretaries later, and he also, but still, he had to take care of all that. And in the meantime, he wrote all his books, he traveled all over the world, and he handled unlimited problems. It was just, if you read the letters, most of them are about problems that were coming into him all the time. So the more advanced devotee gets, the more capacity for service he or she can handle also.
Yeah, but also that was a great statement about with the material and desires and things like that, that we are not able to handle those without basically, the unlimited, it has to be limited and under the direction of the Lord, because we get into the Maya then,
Tena tyaptena means whatever's set aside for you.
Yes.
Naturally is your quota.
Yeah.
If you take that and you use it to be yukta or balanced, so you can do your service. The Bhagavatam says, Kamasya nindriya pritir labo jivete yavata, jivasya tattva jignasya narto yasheha karmani. That your life isn't meant for trying to get more and more material enjoyment. So, but you can take whatever you need to be healthy and balanced, so that you can perform your service.
Yeah.
That's the point of the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, because beyond that it becomes like a misuse. So so we're just not designed like that.
Yeah, there's no end to it.
That's it. Yeah. Like even Indra gets, there's a limit. Beyond that, he gets like when he got puffed up, false pride.
He gets that all the time.
Also, oh yeah, he's probably living in that right now.
It's hard being
in his
king of heaven. It was in the early days used to be considered a curse to be the temple president in Hawaii, because it was so nice there. It was hard for people to stay steady there sometimes.
And practice bhakti.
But to speak of heaven.
So we have a section in our handout on the Sri Namamrita, and I think we will get a chance.
Should I start reading? Yes. Lord Chaitanya introduced the Sankirtan Yajna for the deliverance of all men in this age of Kali. Lord Krishna to Arjuna. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you all desirable things."
The Lord created this material world for the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajnas, sacrifice, for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world they can live very comfortably without anxiety. Then after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In this age of Kali, the Sankirtana Yajna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. And this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtana Yajna and Krishna consciousness go well. Lord Krishna in his devotional form as Chaitanya is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam as follows, with special reference to Sankirtana Yajna. Krishna Varanam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopanga Parshadam Yajyeha Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumedhasaha. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates by performance of Sankirtana Yajna, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.532. Other yajnas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali, but the Sankirtana Yajna is easy and sublime for all purposes. Bhagavad Gita as it is 3:10.
Sharing is the essence. Assignment. Distribute one book of Srila Prabhupada to your friend or a stranger and share your experience with the group. Preaching is the highest welfare activity. One who is beyond duality and doubt, whose mind is engaged within, who is always busy working for the welfare of all sentient beings, and who is free from all sins, achieves liberation in the Supreme. Only a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. When a person is actually in the knowledge that Krishna is the fountain of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in first-class welfare work without being liberated in the supreme. A Krishna-conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. He has no doubt because he is completely freed from all sins. This is the state of divine love. A person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Krishna, he is actually a liberated soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, 25.
So Maharaj, could you share a few tips with this team on how we can go about reviving our relationship with Krishna?
Well, one thing I wanted to say about this last paragraph, which is very meaningful because it's an issue that comes up a lot. People actually do want to help others, generally, but then knowing how to do that is important because it's actually possible to want to do good for others, but then not do good for them, or to fall short. So there's a scenario that Prabhupada describes of a boy who runs away from his family and then becomes really estranged and is lost in another city. And he's really forgotten his connection with his family, and he's begging at a street corner. So then a friend of the family that happens to be in that city is driving down the street, and he recognizes the boy as the lost child of this family. So then here are the choices. He could open the window and say, here's $20, and not mention anything else and just drive away. Or even $100, or even $500. It doesn't matter the amount so much. And then he drives away. Or if he drives up and then he says, hey, I know you, and I know where you belong, and you get in. Why don't you just get in? I'll take you home. You know, and he gets in the car, does the boy, and then the man arranges for him to go back to his family, assuming they're a good family. But every metaphor has its. But the point that Prabhupada makes is what is real help? What is the way in which somebody does real welfare activity? You can give food, money, take care of the physical body, but unless, as Prabhupada's saying here, unless you give knowledge that actually connects them to their original relationship, then how much did you really help them? Because if people get hungry again, they'll get sick again and never overcome it. So it's a really important thing, and most people miss that. If you talk about doing welfare work, people sometimes get really excited, but generally it falls in the realm of taking care of the body. But distributing knowledge so that people can come in contact, and we meet people all the time who got a Bhagavad Gita from a devotee or any other book, and then their life is transformed because they're able to actually find their path back to Krishna, and they remember, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. We just came from San Jose. We were in Japantown. There was a big festival going on down there. We met all kinds of young people walking along, just having no idea what they were supposed to do in life. And introducing the Bhagavad Gita to them, say, here, take this Bhagavad Gita and read it, you know. There's an impact, you know, from that is indelible. And what was your actual question, Shraddha?
My question was if you could tell about the last part where you said that Samandhyan, so what can we do to, what practices we should follow to
Oh yeah,
find out
Samandhyan.
Samandhyan, our relationship with Krishna.
Haridas Thakur, when he was speaking with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, talked about how important Sambandhagyan is, remembering one's relationship with Krishna. And he said it's important as you're chanting Hare Krishna every day to also hear about your relationship with Krishna. Because it's really easy to forget in the material world and be overcome by the various attachments that one might have, various emotions for all material relationships. So one of the, hearing Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is directly speaking to us. He's speaking to Arjuna, but he's also speaking to us and saying that, you're my devotee. Please, let's be together. Let's surrender. That's really encouraging. Hearing Krishna's voice saying that. And Bhagavatam speaks so much about how we don't have a relationship with the material world. That's important to know also. That don't feel obligated to become more and more entangled in the material world because it's not really meant for you. That's something you don't hear about very much. Most people sort of encourage, like, why don't you become a better exploiter of the material world and try to get more information how to do that. Most of the universities are teaching knowledge about how to be a better little exploiter of the material world. But Bhagavad Gita, and the devotees are teaching, be a servant, and that's pretty rare. Hearing that. So hearing, that's the main thing, right?
Yeah, as my mother says, much wants more. So that's what you're saying with the university is teaching to exploit.
Is
Much
what?
wants more.
Much wants
He's sitting right there, yeah, much wants more.
Much wants more. Yeah.
That's how the people become president. He's not satisfied.
Not satisfied, right?
Not at all, not even 1%.
It's hard to let go.
Yeah, I grew up as a little kid listening to that 4 or 5 year old. It's like he wants another sweet, so much wants more. Shut up. Go back to your room.
Mama has more to say, more wisdom here.
Yes, of course.
It's not me. It's Krishna sometimes.
Yes.
That's through me.
Yes.
Once in a while. Because I'm associated at this moment with all of such great devotees. So I'm leaving the, what to say, parchai.
You're getting charged.
Reflection.
Yeah. Receiving the charge.
Shadow.
Shadow.
You are reflecting in me the shadow. So that shadow is speaking now, not me. It's all here. I am seeing such great devotees. Everybody is so highly elevated by this association today itself. And we have found her for so many times, and now we are with you with us. How good luck. And every Saturday there we have to go somewhere. But this Saturday he said, you are not going anywhere. You are coming with me to Khyati's house. She morning also called. Beforehand she met in the Rath Yatra. She told me, you don't forget, you have to come. Because one time I forgot and I was repenting why I did not go. I wanted to go to their house too. And then my son invited. I said, we can come for lunch and then straight we'll go. No, come for the dinner. How can you refuse your son?
So actually we should thank Guru Maharaj and Guru Ma for this, because they used to do the Bhakti Vrksa at their home where Raseshwari Mataji used to go. And Raseshwari Mataji started this. So we are just continuing. So actually they are the one who started this.
Raseshwari started here?
Yeah, so Raseshwari Mataji started Peninsula Bhakti Vrksa in January 2018.
Oh wow.
And then she moved to Las Ghettos and then we started doing it. So, wow.
Yeah, you know, you never know when you start to do Krishna consciousness how it's going to go in a certain direction.
That's very
I mean, Prabhupada said in one lecture when he was with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disappearance day, he goes in a series of who knew. He said, who knew that I would come here to your country? Who knew that I would meet you? Who knew that you would help me? And, you know, like, we don't know. We do know that it's the right thing, but how Krishna's going to use it, that's
My husband in India used to travel a lot from his company, Indian Oil Corporation. And he used to go Vrindavan off and on. And he used to take me if the children have holidays. So my in-laws, they used to take care of them, or sometimes we used to take one or two with us, whatever we can handle. 3 children, it was 3 sons especially. They will eat our head, so we will leave them. Some we will take. So there we could not recognize anything about Prabhupada. But when we came here, we were not knowing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or anything. When we came here, and we were surprised to start understanding. I said, why not when we were in India and going so many times to Vrindavan, nothing we got. My husband will say, it's so dirty.
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya is hidden.
No, it is so dirty, and how people are saying that mati is very pure, this thing, that is, it stinks, people are very dirty. I said, don't look at the people, just pick up and put on your head. No, I will not pick up. You do all these things. So he was so different. And suddenly when we came here, he started doing everything in that direction. Today also I wanted him to come, but somebody had some problem. So he was sorting out. I said, you do the material, and now this is discarded.
Maya's everywhere.
Don't take the people's this thing that you are helping. He was thinking, I'm helping there, I'm doing Krishna Seva. I said, this is Krishna Seva, come here. And then talk to them for 1 minute. Now, they wanted to talk to me. He said, no, you are coming with me, and then when you come back, and now I am understanding that when they want to talk to me, I know how to answer them, because I have associated here for 1 hour. And then I will be able to talk to those people. Same people, he was, his brain whole day they were talking, and he was replying them. They were not understanding. Because Maya is not, don't allow us to do any seva of anybody. Because this is knowledge. That was not knowledge, that was material handlings. So that's the difference I'm seeing here by coming here.
You're talking about who knew that Raseshwari Mataji would leave Bhagavad Gita in first city, and I would go and pick it up, and that would completely change my life. And then she started this Bhakti Vrksa, and then she moved to Campbell, and she said that, can you come and take it up? So like,
Amazing.
No, it's what,
Who
yeah,
knew?
she built this whole team
And just to briefly add one thing, last time I was here in your class, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that I heard one of your lectures because my mother went to the Mountain View Temple, but I was home. So I said, yeah, give me the information so I'll watch it online. And I heard you, and I came here. So I've only known of you. Like, I don't know when you're mentioning the other Mataji. I don't even know that she exists. Like, I'm hearing a new story.
Right.
I thought she's been doing this for years, see?
It's similar with the, there's so many acharyas
Yeah,
that,
right. But I know.
that have really passed down. Prabhupada mentioned how we have a debt to all these great acharyas. Like we have a debt for Vaisesika Leela, and now to Shraddha, and for Khyati Neil. I mean, it's like, we feel an obligation. But we don't know how many there are. They go way back, but they're all instrumental.
They're all being used as instruments,
the opulences related to this last paragraph, because I was just remembering how in the 10th canto, the prayers of personified Vedas make this extraordinary statement that the greatest opulence that Krishna has is his compassion for the fallen souls. And his greatest leela is saving the soul from the material world. That's what the personified Vedas say. This is the greatest opulence.
Can you say one more time, Prabhu?
Yes, in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a whole chapter called Prayers by the Personified Vedas. It's a highly philosophical chapter, and it goes on forever. And there are unlimited gems within that chapter. One of the statements that they make is that the greatest opulence of the Lord is his mercy for the conditioned souls. That he has unlimited compassion to save us from the material world. And that his greatest leela, his pastime, is really the way he goes about saving the living entity from this mire of material existence. So that's the most glorious of all his pastimes.
So there's a homework there for all of you. I hope you noticed that.
Excellent homework. I would say you're being very kind. You put one book. You should put 3 or 5. 3 to 5.
Add 1 0 next to 1.
Oh my God! Yeah. She's putting it in micro.
Yeah, so that's the least that is there. You can always, you can always compete with yourself and do that, because you see how books will change my life. And while you're here, if you can bless this team to do this.
Well, it's a natural outgrowth. When you do the level of Krishna Katha that you're all doing here, there's a very high level of practice that you're all doing. The way you're discussing and bringing out these really deep realizations. And so then if you just transfer it, take the same energy and bring it out to other people, it actually strengthens it, because when you go outside this room, one thing that might happen is people might not agree with you.
Yeah.
Here, most people, 90% of the time, will agree with everything you say. But when you go out and you give it to other people, then some will be really excited to see it and say, "Where have you been all my life?" And then you'll realize, wow, the people are out there. And other people will say, they'll say you're complete nonsense. Actually, something else is the truth. And then you'll have to think about it more deeply. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said once that when you take this out and you distribute it to others, and they deny you, or they argue with you, or they ignore you, and he said you get chid rakta for your chid sharira, which means you get spiritual blood for your spiritual body. It makes you stronger. So, one thing is, if you just take some books with you wherever you go, then Krishna will use you as an instrument to meet up with a person. The other day we were in UK, and I was on one side of the street going door to door with some devotees. Nirkula was holding something on the other side of the street, and she was waiting for us to come across the street. And just as she stood there, some people came back from a conference where it was some spiritual conference, and they looked and they saw her and us, and they said, "Are you a Buddhist?" And I looked over, and she had like 2 or 3 people over there. All took books, and all she was doing at that particular time was standing there with a book in her hand. And if you take them with you, then you can become an instrument, and it changes a walk to the grocery store to something that's a lot more dynamic. So I pray on this day that this Bhakti Vrksa here in Millbrae may become a powerhouse for distributing Srila Prabhupada's books all over the Bay Area. Anyone who agrees with this idea in part or in whole, please say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I had one thing to add in the Sri Namamrita, which is sort of highlighted in the second paragraph. I really like this. It's this line is like a master line, which obviously I've been hearing it always, but to put the two and two together, it is remarkable. It says Sankirtan, Yajna, and Krishna consciousness go well together. This is like a master code. When I look at it, it's like it can be like used at the temple when you enter. So I'm just saying, I just really picked up on this one, and then I really like the other one down here, which I will share with people always, is this: in this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence, or even I think little intelligence, will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by associate by performing the Sankirtan Yajna. I think both of these are master quotes or lines. Yeah.
Nice job.
I think so.
Actually, you can pick out those master quotes, and when you present books to people, sometimes it's helpful. The ones that are most meaningful to you that you pick out, even when you present it, you can just use those master quotes and embed them in your presentation, and it becomes really.
And one more thing about Krishna's energy, Maharaj, directly connected with you, is that even though I go more to Berkeley Temple, there was a time I was coming to Palo Alto when you were doing Sankirtan in the books, because I was working in that area and I found the devotees there, and then I was coming monthly. I think it used to be monthly. I don't know if it's still happening, but that's when I last got to associate with you.
You mean the Harinam in the park?
Downtown Palo Alto.
It is happening once a month, and you won't believe what it looks like now.
Yeah,
It's a really big thing.
Really? And it's in the park now?
No,
It's in the plaza.
But we used to just go there and take whatever space we could, but then we found out you can get a permit.
Oh.
And now we spread out a lot more. And
It's
like,
at that Pizza My
it
Heart
looks
plaza?
kind of like Rath Yatra, yeah.
Really? Okay, I haven't gone to that yet. I'll
So
try
is
to
it
go.
still next to that Pizza My Heart thing?
Pizza My Heart, yeah.
Still there.
But I just remember, because your mind has so many pieces to it. So from years and years ago, whatever, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, last I was there, I just remember walking down with everybody down the street, and then you would give me the books to give out, and then sharing, your experience, and then being in the plaza briefly, but not the way you're sharing it. Right. That's grown. Nice. Yeah, that used to be very brief, and then everything would end there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah.
Sadhana, you can have it very short.
Okay.
Then and then Prasada phase. I wanted to invite Maharaj, you and all of them to our house for next
Oh.
Days. All right.
It's in 2 weeks? Is it in 2 weeks?
Tomorrow.
Well, no, I'm asking because there was one last week, right? So
Right
that
after
Kathy
this,
told
right
me it's every 2 weeks, so I'm just confirming.
No, we didn't have it last week.
Or the week before that.
Yeah, it was always.
But there was one right after her home, the following Saturday at her home in San Mateo. Because of something.
Travel.
Yeah. Okay, so it's every 2 weeks. Yeah, good.
Bring us in our house sometime.
Yeah.
Sure, Kathy Mataji is
Okay.
right. We would love to have it
Yeah.
today. Yeah, we're looking forward and studying it out more.
Great. Yeah.
Just let us know.
Yeah, she's saying talk to Kathy.
Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta
Niharika Mataji's birthday yesterday.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Happy Parents' Day, Mataji. Jai, Hare Krishna. Jai.
Can we say Hare Krishna?
Yes, we should say that.
That is nice.
Ah,
Yes.
The years go by very quickly, as Prabhupada told us when I first started hearing him. And so the sooner we become serious in our Krishna consciousness, the better. Because we never know when our time is up.
Hare Krishna.
Any minute,
Any
any
time,
moment,
any
any
minute.
moment.
And, if you're fortunate enough to live to an older age, that becomes more and more
Yes.
obvious.
Yes.
And so,
Yes, it is.
best not to waste our time, but to dive into the nectar of the holy name and have this kind of association and sangha, and then it doesn't matter. Right? Anything can happen and we'll be
Very,
all
very
right.
true. That's right.
I just want to say that this is a delightful gathering. What you're doing here is as sweet as it gets in Krishna consciousness. Because, bigger isn't necessarily beautiful. This is actually what big it means, is to have loving relationships between devotees, and I feel that here. It's a really, really nice program that you have. And when you have this kind of a sweet program with all of you so enthusiastic, so knowledgeable, you have good guidance here, and when you keep this up, then Krishna in magical ways expands the Krishna consciousness in your life and gives you more and more facility. And so, we had it in our house for some time, and then ISV showed up. Where'd that come from? And then so many other things. It's like you don't know how Krishna's going to expand in your life, but he does. But this is the best of it, what you're doing. Who knew? But really, these smaller programs where you get to know each other, and this is beautiful. Condensed knowledge. This is like really, really valuable in the format and everything.
I made a file because I have one from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then my mother was able to get some from other weeks. And so I made my own file now, putting these in. I think they're very beautiful. They're valuable, So I want to store them.
I think I say that every time, right? So I like the structure, I like the structure.
So I just want to thank you very much for having us over.
You can take one more. Kathy and Lira, give some.
Thank you for having us to your program, because now we can think of where you are and what's happening here. And it made, actually, there was a pang when I was here. It made me, miss our little programs we used to have. They got so big, we had to cancel it because everyone was complaining that they didn't get invited. That's actually what happened after 16 years. It got huge, and then we just expanded in the temple. But this is sweet. It's really, really nice. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, and especially thank you so much, Shraddha Mataji, and
it's really, really beautiful.
And we are very glad that you are here, and you are just so fortunate.
Hare Krishna. That is very big. So.
Sorry, we try to make a garland, but it's not that
I will
good.
take the garland making class.
That makes it even better.
I really need
That is the sweetest garland. Well, the more artistic it is, the more unique it will be. So it's very artistic.
It's the feeling behind it.
It's like the modern art.
Yeah, that's what I said. People go to museums, to see this, and we're seeing it in front of us.
That Guru Maharaj likes light garlands.
I like the feeling behind it.
No, I realize I need to take a garland making class
They
now.
will be very happy to have you.
Yes. Next Vaishnavi group
Actually, it's,
Sangha. So.
I was just reading in the Bhagavatam yesterday when Krishna went to the school of Sandipani Muni, and it lists all the arts that he and Balaram learned there, and one of them is garland making. You don't get that at Intel. It's not you look in one room and there's some people making garlands. They're all like, hurry up, we got to make a new chip. But this is, it's a spiritual thing. Even in Hawaii, this is practically the only other place you get garlands. But their mood there is aloha, which means the breath of God. And there's this idea that it's a very spiritual thing. The spiritual world's beautiful and all.
No, I have another analysis. It's very unique because see the roses are pointing downwards towards your feet. It's super beautiful. I mean,
we make it
yeah,
upwards.
because his lotus feet are so beautiful. It's like they're pointing downwards.
Devotees are so merciful, and especially Guru Maharaj, you are so merciful that you take that. I'm like really
Beautiful.
feeling that I didn't
Not
know.
just I take it, I love this garland.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank you very much.
I also wanted to mention that Gopal Namburi Prabhu joined us for the first time today.
Oh,
We will not let you leave now.
And plus, you got the standing room only.
No, I was here, and then I left.
Left.
I mean, I left.
Thank you so much, Guru, for coming.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here with all of you.
Thank you so much, Vanamari Prabhu. You always
It's always
here
my pleasure
gracing
to
us
be
with your
here.
presence.
Yeah.
So we feel
cannot
Srila
miss it anymore.
Prabhupada's presence here. And today it's triple presence.
Exponential.
Yeah, and he always comes with very nice drums. Did you bring your thing today?
I just brought my kartals.
Okay.
But they're my best kartals. They're finely tuned with my own viol and sandpaper. Christian.
Okay. Please repeat after me. Oh my Lord.
Oh my Lord.
This material body is a place of ignorance.
This material body is a place of ignorance.
And the senses are a network of paths leading to death.
Senses are a network of paths leading to death.
Somehow I have fallen into this ocean of material sense enjoyment.
Somehow I have fallen into this ocean of material sense enjoyment.
But you, dear Lord Krishna,
You, dear Lord Krishna,
are very kind.
are very kind.
And have given us this nice prasadam.
Give us this nice prasadam.
Spiritual food.
Spiritual
To
food.
help control the tongue. Now let us honor this prasadam.
Now let us honor this prasadam.
To our full satisfaction.
To our full satisfaction.
And thus glorify your lordships.
And thus glorify your lordship.
Shri Radha and Krishna.
Shri Radha and Krishna.
And in love. Call for the help.
For the help.
Lord Chaitanya.
Lord Chaitanya.
And Lord Nityananda.
And Lord Nityananda.
Go Premanande Hari.
Hari.
So with this, we will bring today's session to a conclusion. Thanks, a big thanks to everybody who's here. Thank you to once again to Neeral Prabhu and Mataji for opening their home and their heart for us to conduct these Bhakti Week sessions, and also to all the online audience for joining us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks to you for organizing this program.